All right, so welcome everyone to From Waste to What? How Zero Waste Drives Poverty Reduction, Climate Action, and Shared Prosperity. So I'll be doing the feature presentation. And yes, I'll be doing the feature presentation. And in this presentation, we're going to explore how zero waste is not just about recycling, it's about equity, it's about livelihood, it's about resilience and building prosperity by valuing what we already have. So now in we're going to be very visual and data oriented in order to get the point across. So in this slide, we're discussing why zero waste matters now. So when you look at the slide, you have 1/3 of all food globally is wasted, according to FAO. And then food loss and waste accounts contributes to 8 to 10% of global GHG emissions, that's greenhouse gas emissions. So waste sits at the intersection of climate change, poverty, and inequality. So when we waste resources, we also waste economic opportunity and social value. Next slide. So in this slide, we're discussing waste as a social justice issue. So landfills and incinerators are disproportionately located near marginal communities in Canada. And also, when we look at food insecurity, it affects socialized households at a higher rate, compounding the injustice of a wasteful system. So, in summary, communities that contribute the least to waste often experience the greatest impacts. And when we say impacts, we're looking at the pollution, we're looking at the health risk, we're looking at limited access to recovery programs. Next slide. So now we're looking at poverty and the cost of waste. So what this future presentation is about is just align your thinking. It's like show you the big picture. Well, when we go into the panelist discussion, we now break it down with the panelists. Now, with poverty and the cost of waste. So when you're looking at household budgets, it gets stretched thin by hitting cost of wasted food and materials. And then also with low-income households, they feel the impact more, right? Spending a greater share of their income on food, every dollar lost to waste is a dollar that cannot get put towards rent, health, or education. So in a nutshell, we're looking at food waste. So according to data, food waste costs the average Canadian household over 1,300 annually. So zero waste is a cost of living solution, right? That's zero waste, the cost of living solution. Reducing waste directly puts money back into households' budgets. So in this slide, we're looking at climate impact of waste. So emissions generated by wasted food and materials represent one of the most overlooked drivers of climate change. So for instance, when it comes to food, there's the methane production, right? Methane from landfill is 25 times more potent than carbon dioxide, making landfill diversion a critical climate priority. And then looking at the potency of methane, right? Food waste alone would be the third largest emitter globally if there was a country. So when we reduce waste, we reduce emissions quickly, often faster than many high-cost climate interventions. Next slide. So zero waste. Zero waste equates to jobs and improving local economies. So when we transition to zero waste systems, it's not just about the environment, it's an economic opportunity. And then when you look at, the repair services, right? Composting services, reuse services, logistics, it all get towards, circular economy model, it strengthens local economies, right? And then you're also creating jobs. Zero waste sector creates up to 10 times more jobs than landfilling. So repair, reuse, and recovery are labor intensive by design. So creating inclusive jobs, skills training, and community enterprises. Next slide. So moving from linear to circular, right? So linear economy to circular economy. Circular economy is where we want to be. So a shift from linear. So when you say linear, look like take, make, dispose, right? Model to a circular economy where you have your person you're reusing, which is the foundation of zero waste. The framework of reuse, so reduce, reuse, repair, recover, and recycle keeps materials in use, so eliminates waste and regenerates natural systems. So a zero waste system shifts us from take, make waste to regenerative systems that keep value circulating within communities. So in this slide, we're looking at Canadian zero waste solutions. So what are those? Like we do have solutions already, that are actually going on across Canada, and demonstrating that zero waste is not just a vision; it's actually happening. So you have the food rescue and redistribution organizations in Canada. There is a strong and growing ecosystem of that happening, which working towards reducing waste while addressing food insecurity. We have the repair cafes, and we have indigenous-led stewardship and food sovereignty programs. Now, these solutions already exist, so scaling them requires policy support, partnerships, and community participation. Now, when we look at zero waste, how zero waste builds resilience, right, in this slide. So communities that embrace zero waste are better equipped to withstand economic shocks and supply chain disruptions. So local food recovery reduces resilience, reliance on fragile supply chains, and waste reduction strengthens community self-sufficiency. So you see that with COVID. With COVID, it was a huge problem, with trying to um access to food, access to a lot of things, right? But if we are regenerating, where we are doing what we're supposed to, doing what we're supposed to do, right? The tendency is that we become self-sufficient. We're able to rely on ourselves more. So zero waste increases resilience, especially during climate shocks, supply disruptions, and economic stress. All right, so now from me to the zero waste challenge. So every time we do a webinar, we always create a pathway showing how this can be done, like how your one action, can make it happen. So we always do a 30-day challenge and show you how to do it. So the whole idea is not coming to the webinar and then just going back home, but it's actually actionating what you learn during the webinar. So and this will be discussed towards the end of the webinar. So the whole idea of this, we want one action to cut waste, by 30%. We want supporting your food rescue organizations. We want starting a reuse initiative or advocating for policy. So these are all the different actions, and we can show you how to do that. So zero waste. So the whole idea is change happens when individual action becomes collective momentum. So, like I said, details will be provided towards the end of the webinar, and there'll also be chances to win prizes. This all will be given towards the end. Now, tracking impact. So with every initiative, every waste reduction initiative, it's always good to track the impact of the impact of your actions, right? Tracking the impact of your actions makes it actually visualize, makes it real, makes what you're doing measurable. So every action counts. So together they add up to a transformative change. So there's the option of using a digital community dashboard, which makes collective progress visible and motivating. So with our challenge, we use Slack for our community for the challenge, where participants are able to document their actions, share lessons, and build accountability, which is turning awareness into measurable impact. Now, key takeaways. So key takeaways. So our key takeaways are broken down into the people, planet, prosperity, which is similar, same thing as social well-being of the people, planet, environment, prosperity, economics, right? When you look at this, what the concept of sustainability, how it's broken down, what the concept of it and what it means. Okay. So waste is a justice issue, like we had mentioned and described. So marginalized communities bear the greatest burden of the wasteful system, and zero waste is a part of equity. Okay. Now, when it comes to the environment, zero waste saves money and creates jobs. Circular economy system unlock economic opportunity while protecting the planet because you're not just throwing it away and putting in the landfill. You're reusing uh, you're reusing, you're recycling, you're providing services while still trying to extend the life circle of products that are being produced or food that is, food systems. Now, when it comes to prosperity, circular systems strengthen communities. So you're looking at resilience. So resilience, self-sufficient communities are built on foundation of zero waste. So, like I mentioned, the recycling, reducing, those are all labor intensive, and that's you creating jobs when you now start looking at the circular economy, right? Jobs are created, and there's prosperity. There's more money in pockets, right? So it's not just throwing things away, right? More money in pockets to pay for rent, to pay for things that, you have been looking for money, grabbing to be able to cover those things. Because every penny, every dollar counts. So zero waste is not sacrifice. It's smarter systems that work for everyone. So closing, the last slide. So waste is only waste if we waste the opportunity. I like this. That's the quote. And then together we can turn waste into worth for people, for the planet, and for shared prosperity. The opportunities are ours to take. So each of us has a role to play. So when we value resources, we value people, and we move closer to a just and resilient future. Like it's a win-win. It's a no-brainer. So I thank you all for listening. So this is the end of the future presentation. Thank you all for listening. And I'll pass it over to Carrie. Thank you.